part, electric part, and one is the matter itself that falls into a gravitational field because it has a gravity. So it creates a gravity space, a gravity well, and with that gravity well actually creates time, right? So this is how we're actually falling into being, and everything that we see around us is falling into being through nanoparticles, like very, very small particles that are feeding. Each of them is feeding itself from the source, and it creates a crystalline spiral just like this, and creates a the grid as per the ascension mechanics by Ashina Dean, channeling and transmissions. Please put a like and subscribe, and if you like what you're hearing, and put a comment if this is meaningful to you, or what else you have that you would like to know more, and I can bring this to you. And all this is the template, and all this template can be applied to anything. So it can be applied to what kind of mindset should I use to get better every day? For example, right? If we try too hard and to hustle too hard, we'll be stuck here because we always go back and forth in between negative and positive. We're hating ourselves. I hate myself, right? If I get through this mentality. But as a mindset, if I just ignore this, not even fight with it, and I'm coming back to the factions, the spiritual factions around the earth that are all fighting with each other, ignoring the fact that actually this is the wrong way of transcending, because it's meant to be capped, it's meant to be locked in a phase lock. In here, then you have actually the crystalline structure, right, creating that Merkaba fields, those Merkaba fields around the earth, around each human being, around each and every single substance that exists on this planet, or organics that lives on this planet, has its own field, its own morphogenetic field that supports, right? So if I'm a human being, I say I put my little sticky figure here around us, including the aura. So our aura will be part of the morphogenetic field. And the morphogenetic field is actually the one that has been discovered and talked as the epigenetics, where the researchers, right? And I'm going to have a webinar where I can explain more and give more. So if you guys are interested in this, I'll have a webinar in my Activated Priestess of Conscious Love, Light, and Wealth on my Facebook group. And please get into bio, and the links are there. And I'm going to have a webinar where I explain more the 5 pillars of how to access and transcend in all matter, right? Like in love and inner light, inner wisdom, and wealth, right? So we have the 5 pillars. So around us is the aura, and around us in more is that morphogenetic field, meaning that our genes, our DNA is actually changing itself second by second, nanosecond by nanosecond. We are all very different and in a very subtle way every single second or every nanosecond. And it's influenced actually by a lot of other, like by thoughts and emotions and beliefs. So if we believe we live in a world of war, or fight and war, of constant survival and scarcity, well, that's what we're going to create. We are still the creators of our reality. But if we want to create something better for ourselves, right, increase the frequency of our well-being, of our being as a template, as who we are on this planet, and not be overwhelmed by all this negativity and just completely ignore it, then we are actually transcending. This is the ascension mechanic, the ascension process. But you have to know that to be able to do all the work, right? So this is your morphogenetic. I'm writing in reverse. By the way, I'm a kindergarten teacher, so I'm writing in the reverse, darling. So this is the morphogenetic field that surround that we are immersed in, and our beliefs and mindset and emotions directly influence through epigenetics and through the epigenetic mechanisms influence our own reality, because we're creating from inside, right? From inside here, we're creating outwards, right? If I truly believe that my car is so constantly broken, oh, and I always, how many times we do that, right? How many times you keep saying, that crap of a car, it never always does this to me, always stops in. Well, that's what's going to do, because you believe that, or right? Or if we believe, oh, this is happening, or my job sucks, or this, my relationship sucks, or whatever, that is going to catch more gravity. The more emotions we put in, the more thoughts and beliefs we put into something, the further it collects gravity, literally creates mass, like a blob of darkness, and it starts falling into our own reality through our own chakras, right? Like, one more interesting thing about the silica molecule actually is that so if you see the little stars here, or these little stars are actually the silica, sorry, the silica, mm, the silica, the silica atoms, and the other ones, the oxygens, are on the oxygen molecule atoms bonded themselves to the silica on the outside. But when these form in 3D structures, sorry, forgive my puppy, they the tetrahedrons, so the ones that have the triangle based pyramids, are all separate and 144 degrees different than in the carbon based structure or 3D matrix. So let me close the door here. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to move the chair out of the way so you can see the rest here. So this is, hey, I'm back. So, okay. So this is the rest here. So as you see, our silica model, our second harmonic universe, okay. So our second harmonic universe going into the third, fourth, and so much, like further up into the with our morphogenetic fields inside, is the Cataric grid, creates a Cataric grid, and the Cataric grid actually activates or is activated through the crystalline mathematical sequence. And the crystalline mathematical sequence actually always comes back to zero. So it builds a spiral, but in a different way. So it's right here. So it starts with at zero, but look what happens to all the other numbers, okay? So it says 0 plus 1 is 1. But then the next number over, becomes 0 plus 1 equals still 1. The next number over does not feed just on the one prior to it, right? The next one over considers the entire equation, so it keeps adding. Okay, so 0 plus 1 makes 2. Next one over, your next number sequence considers all these numbers again. So it always returns back to zero, to the source, to the 0 point. To there's many different ways to express that, and then so forth. So number 4, the next number over, still considers all of it, right? So I have 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 4. Next number over, it says 0, 1, 1, 2, 4 actually makes 8. Do you see that big difference? And what happens is when these two, so we still have access in here in the first harmonic universe with the beginning of the sequence. Both sequences still are overlapped. And in the next video, I'm going to talk more about the Cataric template and the crystalline template compared to the carbon-based template that you see in the Hebrew Kabbalic systems, actually. So this is then your difference. Now, when we start at the beginning here, so all of this is overlapped together just in the beginning, just at the beginning of the source. Right? We have the the babies that are born, you look at them and you have a feeling that they are like light. They're so, right? So maybe their skin, it doesn't matter, like almost like you look at this, how I see it anyways. I feel like I can see the light through their skin. Or, well, and right, the more we grow, the more the babies grow, something happens to the body, like it's almost like starts encapsulating in itself. And actually, the DNA, if it actually believes this, that we live in this Bi-Veca conditioned reality, it keeps feeding on its own, and therefore it dies. So there is a overlap of the beginning of the Cataric spiral, of a Cataric sequence in the Cataric grid right here at the beginning. But what happens is that this Fibonacci structure spiral actually latches on right in the beginning, and it latches on into a harness, a Fibonacci harness, carbon-based harness that keeps everything capped. Okay, and this is why we need to know that we are with what we're dealing here. When we hear of people saying, I just feel like there's something more than just, oh my God, my family doesn't get along with me, or I'm not getting along with my family. The management at work does this. And the people have some sort of an intuition saying, it feels like there's like a curse, or like there is like there's something that keeps us away from happiness, from joy, from anything that could be of organic development, right? Well, this is what it is. It's an fallen archon, super advanced technology, bio-advanced technology that many archons, as you know, fallen angels and part of the draconian systems. And I don't want to speak for any of these groups because I have yet to personally I have only met some, and I know for a fact, and this is why I truly believe, I believe that just putting a label on something, just like as a general group, it can be questionable, because how do you know that there is not somebody in there who actually wants to burst out of that mentality, or out of their capped, and wants to bring light to the group, right? So I'm always questioning that, and I don't want to refer to anybody as like, I'm staying away from those conversations. But I like to be aware, and I suggest, hey, be aware of what's happening, right? And then in a later transmission, I'm going to talk about of how important it is to understand sacrifice, actually, and how we can, and sacrifice, you can take it as a, when we receive a gift, maybe somebody's taking their shirt off for us, right, or the jacket off for us, and that is a sacrifice, truly. When, what do you sacrifice for your loved ones, right? To give, you give your time, you give your heart, you give your money, you give your, you make something for them, you bring them flowers, you do anything that we give. It's a form of sacrifice. Okay, and I want to talk about that because that's important. And I think that, as I said, my vision and my mission is to have conversations with all the factions and separatist groups in the spiritual community and actually come back to the true source. I want to know, because if we talk to anybody, and that's why I'm not so quick to judge. When people say, when a very hardcore Christian says, "Oh my gosh, bless God, bless the Lord," or when somebody Wicca says, "Oh my God, I'm going to call the goddesses and gods. I'm going to do this," right? Because through their heart, I mean, they have to be really mean people, horrible people inside, like really part of the, maybe the archons, right? To really, really want to inflict pain. But that falls already into a psychopath, social psychopath person. And that's a total different category, right? I'm talking about normal people, okay, who try to understand and try to build their own belonging in their spirit and with their soul, kind of pushing away the muck and trying to kind of figure out, like as if we're surrounded in a bubble and we're trying to push the reality and figure out, okay, so what's happening? Who's going to help me build my bubble of beauty and love and light, true light that feeds off the source? So when I discovered, I ran into this research, I was fine because I was praying. I'm like, I really want to understand a bit more of what's happening. Well, this is the mechanics and this is the blueprint, how this is created and how we're creating realities around us. This is why we have the 666 carbon-based, finite, inorganic matter feeding itself through a Bi-Veca code, constantly feeding itself and never achieving anything, because now you have a great job, let's say as a corporate job, but then sooner than later you have to, right? How often do we say we have to sell our soul to belong to these corporate industries, right? Whatever they are. So that tells you something. So there is a wisdom that everybody's aware, like everybody knows that at the deeper level, especially in the more aware communities, right? They're more aware that there's something that's off. Well, this is what's off, darling, okay? Please like and subscribe and share our transmission and following our activated priestess or priest of conscious light and the love and wealth. We have tons of, especially now we've actually started a 20 mini series of master classes where some of my mentors, these are part of my fifth pillar of ascending and creating all that for yourself. They're transmitting and transmission how they have achieved what I've achieved, breaking through this. And here's what I want to caution. Maybe my mentors, not all of them know this necessarily, right? They're normal people, right? Who are like, okay, well, I just want to go follow my intuition. But they've run into a bunch of other similar transmissions and books and messages that explain just that, but not in this terminology, right? So be cautious when you read through, or if you follow our group, you should know that not everybody wants to go through, to the graphics and all that. There is an intuitive, very beautiful, innocent way of living like this through an organic cathartic grid, right, where you go back to your source all the time. And I'm going to give you a little example. Children are the best example. They don't know any of that. They don't know the language. They don't know anything. But yet they know how to get back to their source. And when do they do that? When they get quiet and when they go explore something. And us actually in teaching, we're talking about this, and you know, it should be more of that, where children are allowed to more time, right? More quality than quantity, more quality, and let them let's say if they're kindergartens, I'm talking about young kids, right? Let them color if that's what they want, or if they want to play with Play-Doh, right? So less rules, less structure in that terms, right? Still keeping them safe, but offer them the opportunity to have a spark of curiosity, have a spark, because they have it's in their template, into their blueprint. They still have a very strong connection with their inner source, with their soul, with their oversoul, and they still hear things from the other side behind the veil, until we start saying, oh no, that's wrong, oh no, you're imagining, oh my god, I think you are wasting too much time, and not quickly do your math, not quickly write your ABCs, or maybe later on, right, in high school or middle school or high school, they're like, no, you have to learn this. I know it doesn't interest you as a high schooler, right? But you have to, because you must, if you want to have your college degree, right? And this is why so many of us have such difficult times in high school and becoming the outcasts, because there's no system for that to allow back to the source. Let us, or let the high school kids explore, or in college, or middle schoolers, or primary kids, let us explore our gifts and our interest in our own follow the curiosity, instead of being kept all the time, right? Because you can see that the best in the educational system, I'm telling you, by the time I realized what I got myself into, I was like, well, that's great to be here. I think that's all wrong. And by the time I start having conversations with the principal and with the observers on the observation process and whatnot, I'm like, no, I'm doing this because they need that. Like, what? That's not what we're doing here. You know how management talks, right? So this is where we're at, and I think that the educational system is a plastic label on who we are on Earth. Of course, unless there is other groups, and again, not all the educational system is bad. Of course not. This is why I'm saying pay caution to label, to overgeneralize labels, right? Even when I say archons, well, have we all met them? How? Because there are many. So, and in those groups, there are other beings, right? Who may try to escape from there, right? And not all artificial intelligence will be bad either. So it's like we really need to be more aware, more flexible, second by second, of what's around us, okay? So, with this being said and having in mind, I think I almost covered everything. How we're actually transcending from the 666 carbon-based matrix inorganic Fibonacci mathematical sequence of building the architecture to a cathartic grid, for cathartic silicon crystalline template that, as you see, even itself, the SiO2, which I think you call it a silicate, like, so it's the sand. Basically, the little crystalline forms in the sand, those are the ones, right? The crystal, everything that's a crystal, this is how it gets built, because that is the part of its structure, of the base base template. So in this here, then, I'm pretty sure there's something with the 144 degrees about it as well. I'm really curious to get into that some more. So follow us some more, subscribe, and share the transmissions. And remember, we talk in our Activated the Priest and Priestess of Inner Love, Light, and Conscious Wealth in our Facebook group, where we actually explore a whole bunch of this, how the essential mechanics work, and how mindset and intuition and belief system through epigenetics actually influence our own transcending from a capped, harnessed, encapsulated um, death flower of flower of life or days of death into the real uh, source connecting, which is actually, which, because you saw there's the pattern for the cathartic spiral is actually the seed of life, which is circle building in circles. And this has connections, and I'm going to talk about it some more, right? So it builds like circles by circles, and it gets bigger and bigger. And imagine this, envision this in 3D or in 4, like it builds itself into this beautiful center supporting through the Bi-Veca codes, which are here. If you see them, I think you see them, right? This is your Bi-Veca codes right here that has access to source, to its antimatter not formed yet particle and template and blueprint. And we can recode all this as well. So it could be that our soul chose this life. Oh, I'm almost done, 5 more minutes. Our soul chose this life to especially starseeds and light workers to come here and explore this. But why? To learn how to, and tell others how to transcend and become better and raise the conscious field, information field of the entire earth, so we can actually go to the 5th D and 6th D and 12th D, right? And this is why so many starseeds have been born in the past 20, 30 years now, and 40 and 50, right? So I'm an indigo child. So with this in mind, I invite you to join us and put your comment or ask us any questions, and we're going to answer you with that and tell us what else you want to learn. And like and subscribe and share. Bless you all. Asai Ashanti means many blessings in Lemurian. Love you all.